Hello and welcome to From Print to Pod 2. We're on season 2 of this wonderful series, and we are very excited to be speaking today about the article Trained to Work, Not to Own: Why Identity, Not Math, Keeps Physicians from Thriving. And with us are 3 fabulous physicians. I'm going to actually have them introduce themselves as soon as we ask the first question. I will, however, say that one of these 3 actually wrote the article, so that's really exciting. Question number 1. When do you think doctors first start seeing themselves more as employees than owners? Is there a moment in training where that happens? Now let's begin with Dr. Sokolina.
My name is Dr. Maria Sokolina, and I'm an owner of the private practice in Clifton, New Jersey, in Manhattan, and I treat dental sleep. I was the employer right after I finished my education, but the constant constraint of being somebody employee, so I have my private practice for many years because I want to practice the way I feel right. So regarding the employee with all these guidelines, and I know a lot of dentists have to go into this avenue due to a lot of depth. I can relate, certainly, but I did not have a long experience as somebody's employee. But it was difficult when I did.
Thank you. Dr. Chopuryan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Zara Chopuryan. I think Zara is easier. The last name is pretty difficult. I'm the internal medicine board certified and palliative care physician, and I have my own practice where I'm practicing holistic aesthetic medicine approach. Actually, I'm doing it for the last almost 20 years. To start my practice, I could say that it was not by the easy way, because where I was trained, in the country where I was trained actually, and that time, it was USSR, Armenia, Russia. So private practice didn't exist even. So we couldn't even think about it. So then when we moved to Spain, we have been living in Spain for many years. So that's where I thought that, you know what, I want to have something for myself, my own practice. Still continue working in federal system, like at hospital, but at that time I decided to open my own practice in aesthetic medicine because I wanted to own something that I never have had it previously. It was difficult, but I think it's really just to start and not give up.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, Dr. Tod Stillson.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Tod Stillson. I'm a family doctor from rural Indiana. I've been practicing for 30 years. And the big reveal is I'm the author of the article. And that conditioning of physicians, it begins early. And I believe it begins in medical school, because the people who are influencing us in our medical school environment, faculty members typically, 9.9% of them are employed physicians by definition, and work for large academic institutions. So you get a heavy dose of influence from those institutions. Then when you move into residency, same principle holds true. You're getting heavily influenced by faculty members who are employees themselves. You might get some exposure in both environments, in medical school and in residency, to the periodic independent physician who works as a preceptor or might be a role model for you. But honestly, most visibilities that all of the doctors have going through their training experiences to employed physicians. So it kind of only makes sense. That's what they're going to become.
Thank you for that. We're going to move on to the next question, and that's the following. What's something physicians already do every day that actually shows they could be owners, even if they don't realize it? Let's go backwards and start with Dr. Stillson this time.
Well, first of all, they're problem solvers by nature, and they walk into their exam room every 15 minutes and organize and assess what's going on, and then prepare a plan to address the problem. That's business 101. Identify a problem and create a solution for it. And so physicians do that all day long in creative, amazing ways. And it doesn't take a lot to move yourself into the concept of, I can do that in the marketplace, not just in the exam room.
Fantastic. We're going backwards. Dr. Chopuryan.
The capacity to make a decision very fast, definitely, it's helpful in business. The communication, we are capable to communicate with the patients, with their families. It's also very important in business setting also. And I think it's not just not giving up, but be able to continue our job that it's so emotionally difficult every day. It shows us that we are able to be ahead with any difficulty that we can find in business setting.
Dr. Sokolina.
Since I own the private business, when I was the employee, think a lot of, we practice as a business owner. I agree with previous stories. Yes, we have to make a decision and be responsible for those decisions. We have to also lead the staff. Even you work for somebody else, you do have a staff and you have to have a relationship with them and they have to follow your orders. Otherwise, the game not gonna play. So that's very important part. In the settings, in the dental settings, we have a certain responsibilities for supplies. Even you work for somebody, you have to make sure, the settings are also taken care of. At least, that's how it works in the dental industry. But the truth is, when you work for somebody else, you also have a next level, of people who also responsible. It's both ways. In one way you are private owner, but in the same time, part of a economical responsibility on somebody else's shoulders. But of course, practicing your own skills, private office is a little bit better.
Now, Dr. Stillson writes in his article, the math of ownership is straightforward. The identity shift is not. What does that identity shift actually feel like for a physician that's going through it? Dr. Chopuryan, let's start with you.
I remember it. Even now, every morning wake up and tell myself that you can do it. It's nothing bad, is it? It's okay. It's okay if you can be the businesswoman, if you can be not so altruistic in your job, because we are trained to be altruist, right? Just first thing is to help the patient, right? And then to think about the material part, like money, it's not so important, but actually it's important too, because you want to be really recognized for your job, for everything that you are doing. And one of the part of this recognition is not just the ovation or, oh, you are amazing, but also you want to win something, some money you want to win. So I remember it wasn't so easy to say myself, you have to do it. Think about the business. It's not just the altruistic part. That's what was the first change of mind for myself. And believe me, I'm still doing it almost every day. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Dr. Sokolina.
Identity shift. What you have to wear two hats in one. You are physician and you are business owner in the same time. And the business owner skills, they were actually not taught in dental school, and I'm sure medical school didn't have those courses as well. No. Business part have so many components. I talk about the stuff, the calculation, how you're going to still swim when you have employees, when you have equipment and a rent and taxes. So it's so many leaves. Yes, they are occupying significant part of your identity, but actually, when you are with the patient, you have to be devoted to the treatment part. As soon as you're not with the patient, you have to put the business owner part. And yes, again, so that's economical part and then leadership part. When it's yours, you don't have anybody who's going to be kind of guiding you or, doing something for you. That's you. And in the beginning, true, it's very scary. But then, just like on any skills, you practice, make it, I cannot say perfect, but make it better.
That makes sense. Dr. Stillson.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Physicians are used to winning with certainty and with authority. And every step of their educational journey, you can probably go back to elementary school, all right? You're winning the awards, you're the top person all the way through the system. But when it comes to starting a business, there's uncertainty. And that's the part that stops the physician in their tracks, because there is not the A plus B leads to C equation when it comes to running a business. Now, I tell physicians this all the time. The demand in the marketplace for your professional services are so crazy high right now, it'd probably be hard for you to fail, even if you tried to fail, okay? There's just such a huge demand. But the reality is that we're used to operating in a sense of certainty. And then the second part of it is we don't want to look foolish. And physicians have a hard time saying to another professional, not even a medical professional, any professional, I don't know the answer to that. Okay. And what you learn in business, these two other doctors know this from operating a business, is you learn very quickly that you need a team of other professionals around you to have a successful business that you can depend on, whether that be the CPA, the lawyer, a business coach, or a wealth advisor, who provide you with input and coaching that allow you to say, I don't know the answer to that. Can you help me? And when you learn that skill as a business person, it starts to dispel all of that sense of, am I going to look foolish? Am I going to look strange? Am I going to know the answer? And those are mental hurdles for doctors to get over that are very challenging.
Can I add something?
Sure.
When I was in a residency program, I really like what Dr. Stillson said. My residency program director had sessions almost every week when we have to practice that word, that sentence, I don't know.
Hold on tight. We'll be right back.
If you haven't had a chance to watch Burnout by Specialty, it's not too late. Our series brings together a different group of specialists for each episode. Take a listen to one of the guests.
Gosh, I think all physicians are service-oriented, but I think there's definitely a servant heart in pediatrics where, we enter this recognizing that we're caring for a vulnerable population. And at the end of the day, all pediatric subspecialties are about potential and wanting this little person who's in front of us to realize whatever their God-given potential is. And I think I resonate with what Dr. Amami said, sort of the disconnect from, why we went into this specialty or this field. And then all of a sudden not wanting to do that and losing kind of that joy that we had in providing this service, I think it is a little bit unique to pediatrics, although I suspect spans all the specialties.
Find this and so many other series inside of our series section. It's like Netflix, but for healthcare. Now let's get back to our program.
My residency program director had sessions almost every week when we have to practice that word, that sentence, I don't know. Because that's for doctor, I don't know. And in the beginning of my career, as a physician even, I had trouble saying the words because everybody questioning you. But now, though, that's very big part of my vocabulary because medicine is not precise science. It's more art than science, as well as business management. And there are a lot of questions. It's okay for physician to say, I don't know. I will figure it out.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of the famous saying, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It's usually, right?
Absolutely.
It usually refers to raising children, but it can be, applied to other places, sort of like raising your own business, which is sort of like a baby in some ways. The
Mhm.
next question is the following. Why do each of you think some doctors feel like owning something is selfish or takes away from being a real doctor? Let's start with Dr. Stillson. We'll go backwards.
Well, first of all, I think we've been conditioned to believe due to things like Stark laws that physicians who own things are going to become greedy and it will be contrary to our altruistic purposes. Okay. And so there's sort of this mental mapping and structure that's built into the conditioning that if we're too successful, we become too greedy. And the reality is that's not the case. And I can tell you this, that I coach a lot of physicians in this space doing this. Okay. I've talked to a physician just this morning who makes less money doing a direct primary care practice than he did as an employed physician. But guess what? He is so happy because of the agency he has as an owner and as somebody who can practice medicine the way he wants to. And for physicians, being an owner is not just about monetary success. It's about success being defined in a different way that in many regards comes back to agency, not greed, but agency. And that's the important word for us to kind of circle our brains around when it comes to this stuff.
That makes sense. Dr. Sokolina.
Dr. Stillson, you touched such a hot topic for me because I remember the years when I was employee. I cannot stand the atmosphere the other employer create. I didn't want to treat the patients in this type of environment. So how it look outside and how people, whatever people smell, whatever they feel, really critical for my treatment process. You know, very often people who own the facility, they don't practice themselves. So
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You practice, do the best you can. But that's not the best I can, not the best for my patients, how I, you know, for dentists is a little bit different because it's also related to technique and material we use. And of course, if you work for somebody, they have to be very economical and they have to do it according to their belief. Or I did not want to practice under somebody else's belief. So I think actually the ethical norms as a private business owner are much higher. About greedy or altruistic, yes, you have to be economically conscientious, but you become a doctor for other principles. Otherwise, doctors can do investment banking. You become a doctor to bring the meaning to your life and, help to the other people. And that's why making your decision, how hard it is, that's, really representation what the dream was originally to become a doctor.
Yeah.
At least in my book.
Yeah, Maria, I want to just echo that again from just my fresh conversation coaching a physician this morning. He provides lab services that are at cost to his patients, as well as dispenses medicines directly to them in his clinic at cost. He knows, honestly, intellectually, I could monetize this. I could make a little bit of money by, doing lab and medications. He's chosen not to. Okay, now that's his own choice, but that has to do with his own ethos of the fact that he wants to provide that high value service to those patients. And he feels really good about the ethos of that. And he doesn't need to monetize everything that he's doing in medicine. When we get into practice as independent physicians and begin to truly get back to our altruistic purposes of delivering care to patients, we have the power again and the agency to do those things and not be filled with greed, but in fact, do good. That's what physicians are meant to do. They make the world better.
Thank you for that. I'm going to now throw it to Dr. Chopuryan. Why do you think some doctors feel like owning something is selfish or takes away from being a real doctor?
Because we were trained, all of us, I think it's independent of the country or medical school, we were trained to be inside of the system. And for someone to go outside of this system from the box, it feels very uncomfortable. And to find some kind of explanation maybe or justification for themselves why they are not able to do it, they should find maybe something or something to blame of. It could be one thing, could be because of that. And the second, for example, in my practice is aesthetic medicine. Everybody sees, a lot of money. Aesthetic medicine, it means a lot of money. But really, for example, in my practice, I'm more focused in really collagen production and helping postmenopausal women to improve the skin quality, Ozempic patients now to improve the skin quality. I'm not working really in fillers, all this stuff, not too much. If it needed, of course. But what I want to say that this kind of holistic approach is not about a lot of money. Why I did it? Because it really was my dream. From even USSR, that was absolutely impossible to do it. I always wanted to make on that time, just women to feel better, to feel more confident. So why someone cannot see it as a still altruistic way to help patients because we can dedicate more time? I don't know. Maybe this is
That's
their
a
own
myth.
problems.
Zara, you're exactly right. That's a myth, and we've got to break the myth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a lot of hours that we are implying in our business. It's like 24 hours nonstop. We are not getting paid for 24 hours. It's impossible.
Which do you all think is riskier, in your opinion, trying something on your own and failing or staying in a system that limits you? Let's start with Dr. Sokolina.
Don't want to waste my life to stay in a system and for somebody going to tell me how I have to treat the patient.
Want to grab a snack? Us too. Let's take a break. Don't forget to check out our magazine with all the incredible articles you can subscribe to. But also, we're so much more than articles in a magazine. We're networking, we're conferences, we're learning, we're growing, we're providing publicity for healthcare professionals today. Membership now free for US-based healthcare professionals. Go to doctorsonsocialmedia.com.
Don't want to waste my life to stay in the system and for somebody going to tell me how I have to treat the patient. I think I didn't go to two dental school for that. So that's not a question for me at all. Failing is a broad term. We always can look at that as an experience. We investing into the experience, and experience is priceless. So I don't know, yes, it's true. You might not survive economically, or you might not accomplish exactly what you want. Then you adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Dr. Chopuryan.
So yeah, I think Maria is right saying that experience is one of the very important parts of ownership. And if you are not gaining or you are not getting your goals, it's still experience. But I think the one very important part of this is also to make to understand where did you fail and not to repeat your wrong points, right? So that makes us be better ownership and even better people, better person, human being. For me, I think not to try is the worst. You have to try always, even if you fail. So if we wouldn't try, then how can we become better? I cannot see any other way. We have to move ahead.
Can I add to what I said? Also, flexibility to innovations. If I get something innovative, I can implement it in my practice as soon as, I learn that system. I know if I would be part of the hospital, which was originally at certain point my dream, it would take 10 years before the technology gonna become available. I know Dr. Chopuryan practice, she really passionate about collagen production, and she was on a convention, and she saw a special radio frequency machine. So now that machine is in her practice.
I wanted to add just one thing to Maria's, that she said, yeah, innovation. So it means to have vision, right? You have to have the vision of the future and to go there. So you are visualizing your result and you're going there. Not as we are going and then let's see where we are going to come. No, you have to have where to go.
Makes sense. Dr. Stillson.
Well, it's interesting for you to frame the question of ownership as a risk management consideration, okay? And as you think about that, first of all, our professional careers as doctors are usually around 30 years. Let's just use that as an average. Well, let's break down that 30 years into something a little more bite-sized. Let's take those first 3 to 5 years. And here's what I would say about the first 3 to 5 years. That needs to be your marketplace fellowship. And whether you choose to be higher risk and move into that marketplace fellowship as an employee or as a independent operator of your own business, I would say the minority of doctors are ready to come out day one out of fellowship and be a business owner and operator. I think they need some fellowship experience. And here's the deal that goes on with that. Let somebody else pay for your loans. Let somebody else help you establish yourself economically for 3 to 5 years. That's usually the exchange that goes on. And in that same process, get your fellowship of the marketplace understood. And in the back of your brain, be preparing for that 3 to 5 year mark when you can go, I'm going to do this on my own. I don't have to be employed anymore. And that's a very powerful notion to think about when you can look at the broad picture of this. And so that's kind of the risk management. I would say if you come out early, and I'm not against employment. There's nothing horrible about it. You won't like it long term, most doctors, to be honest. But in the short term, there's a sort of get this for that deal that goes on, and that's how I would frame it.
We are running out of time, but such a great conversation. I'm going to ask one last question, and I'm going to ask that everybody think of just a sentence that answers this, a single sentence. If you could change one thing about medical training to help doctors think more like owners, what would it be? Now, let's begin with Dr. Who's ready for this? Dr. Sokolina. Okay, Dr. Stillson, you go first.
Identify a mentor or role model that is non-employed.
To have a practice in private, successful clinics, maybe like during the fellowship or during the medical school, like an electives.
Makes sense. Dr. Sokolina.
Right now, we have so many opportunities. I would illuminate so many docs. There are so much information what people, while they are in medical school or during, residency years, they can get some business training. Like for me, it's all happened all together, but if I would do it over, I would find mentors a great thing, or you can choose the mentors using other sources. We have social media, have coaches who offer knowledge. So to have a little bit more clarity on a business sense, you can have multiple mentors, if I put it this way, and collect all the information and just to have a courage to go forward.
That makes total sense. And it sounds like there's a common theme, and that's to diversify your exposure and to really take in the different resources that are out there to allow you to become aware at the least of what's out there and what's possible.
Exactly. To
With
start to
that-
think, yeah. To start at least to think that you can set up your mindset toward private practice, not just to be in the box.
Well, with that, we're going to close this session. Thank you to each of you for joining us, and thank you to our audience for listening.
SoMeDocs,